Welcome to Your Health. I'm your host, Rhonda Alfred, and joining us is Holly Dufrene, a registered dietitian at Terrebonne General. We will be discussing Diabetes Awareness Month and how to manage this diagnosis. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thank you, Rhonda.
All right, well, let's get started with you telling us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Terrebonne General.
Sure. I am the Diabetes and Weight Management Coordinator, so I'm over the Diabetes Management Center as well as our Weight Management Center.
Okay, popular area.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, first of all, let's get started with a little bit more about what is diabetes.
Diabetes is actually a disease of high blood sugar, and what happens is the body either makes no insulin, which is type 1 diabetes, or does not make enough insulin to control the blood sugars, which would be type 2 diabetes.
Okay, two types of diabetes. And how can someone successfully manage this diagnosis?
Most importantly, with proper diet, and then exercise is also very important, and then medication is another tool that is also needed for it. Not always, but in most cases, people do require medication for management.
Okay. And what kind of eating patterns work well for diabetics?
There's really no one-size-fits-all approach, but a lot of people do well with small, frequent meals, 3 meals a day, and we incorporate some snacks in there as well.
Okay, and so what does the diabetic plate look like?
The plate method is one meal planning tool where we encourage to fill up half the plate, the majority of plate, with non-starchy vegetables. And just to clarify what non-starchy vegetables are, that's vegetables besides corn, potatoes, peas, and dried beans. Those are starches and those are carbohydrates. So the half the plate should be filled with things other than that, non-starchy vegetables. And that quarter of the plate, lean protein, and another quarter of the plate, starch, carbohydrate.
Okay, and what kind of food should diabetics avoid?
We tend to not tell them that they have to avoid things. There is one thing that I suggest that people with diabetes do avoid, and that's sweetened sodas and sweetened beverages, because it's a lot of added sugars, a lot of extra carbs that the body does not need.
Okay, well, it's important to know how to read a food label. Can you walk us through how to read a food label?
Sure. Food labels can be a little overwhelming at first sight, and so we try to break it down in our education program and make it less overwhelming. Usually I recommend to start with serving size, because the information on the label only pertains to that particular serving size. So if it says serving size 1 cup, that means measure out 1 cup, and all the information on the label does pertain only to that 1 cup. So if you eat 2 cups, you have to double the information on the label. For diabetes, I suggest that you zone in on the carbohydrate area, total carbohydrate, dietary fiber, as well as total sugars and added sugars. And just something that I want to bring attention to, total sugars is the combination of natural and added, but then the label further breaks down how much added sugar is in the product per serving. And just so everyone knows, in a day, a lady is not supposed to have more than 25 grams of added sugar a day, and a gentleman no more than 36 grams of added sugar a day. One regular soda sweetened with sugar has more added sugar than anyone should consume in a day's time.
Okay, so it's way more than 25 grams of sugar.
On average, it's about 40 grams of added sugar in a 12-ounce sweetened beverage.
So that's something to definitely avoid. So what should diabetics know about nutrients and carbs?
So in our program, we talk a lot about the macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. We explain why all of them are important to the body and why none of them should be eliminated. A lot of times people with diabetes think that they have to eliminate carbs, but that's not the case. It's simply limit the carbs rather than eliminate. And because carbs is the one that does break down and turn to sugar, that's why we start with the limitations. And we discuss carbohydrate allowances. We break that down to how many you should have in a day, and then how many you should have at a meal versus a snack.
Okay. Do you have any other tips for helping manage diabetes?
Education is key. A lot of times people try to manage it on their own, but it's very important to receive education and know what diabetes management entails.
Okay. So you were talking about the food labels. What's the most important thing to pay attention to on a food label?
Usually we start with the total carbohydrate, serving size, and then total carbohydrate grams. And then we go over their allowances. And again, like I said, there's no one size fits all approach. So we give them how many they can have in a day and then how many they can have at meals. And what I like to explain is that when you eat more carbs than your body can handle, it's kind of like you putting more fuel in your vehicle than what the tank can handle. So we try to prevent the overflow effect from occurring. When you put the right amount of fuel that the body can handle, then the blood sugar will be a little bit easier to manage rather than overfueling. And you know, in South Louisiana, we tend to overfuel ourselves with carbohydrates.
Right. Okay, key thing that everybody should know. Diabetes is manageable, correct?
It is manageable. It is definitely manageable. Someone with diabetes can manage their blood sugar as well as someone who doesn't have diabetes with the proper tools, and one being most important, education.
Okay. All right. And how can someone schedule a consultation with you?
If interested, someone can call us at the office, and I'll give that number. It's 985-850-6200. We'll discuss what we have available, and then we'll get in touch with physicians if needed to get a referral sent over to us, and then we can go from there booking the education sessions.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You're very knowledgeable about this subject, and I know you've been doing it a long time, and you're great at it. So.
Thank you, Rhonda.
For more information about Diabetes Awareness Month and the Diabetes Management Program at Terrebonne General, visit tghealthsystem.com. Thanks for joining us on To Your Health. I'm your host, Rhonda Alford, and I'll see you right back here next week.